Hey, what's happening, everybody? Paul Ingram here with College Center. Got my man Tom today. We've been out here doing some training and just working out different tactics and things. And we decided, hey, let's go ahead and do some knife techniques, because it's been a while since we've done some knife techniques here on the channel. So if you like training the knife, first off, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And especially if you're not subscribed yet, or if you're new to the channel, and if you like training the knife, go ahead and give one of these, smash that thumbs up button, grab your training knife, and let's go ahead and get training. All right, so for today's training, we got 3 different techniques that I want to make sure that we share with you guys today, so that way you have a lot of options to explore in your training, and then you can start finding your own variations and make all these drills and techniques your own, right? And really expand that creativity. So every time that we do kind of techniques like this, these are not like, you know, the go-to only technique options. These are just ideas, so that way then you can start doing your training and you can start implementing your own ideas. They're kind of like, you know, just starter drills, give you somewhere to start, like a little template, and then you can break it apart and explore and go have fun with it. All right, so the first one here, we're gonna be working off of the thrust. And the first one is like, you know, we can't quite get the timing to get that hand on the first beat, which is really most likely, so he might come up with another shot. So let's look at a couple options of how we can deal with that second shot. And we'll try to make sure we film these at multiple angles. So he comes in with that number 1 thrust. The first thing is I want to get off the line, and I got to look at stopping the forward progression of that thrust. So we go into our knife tapping. When we're doing our knife tapping, guys, this is not like a nice passive scooping type of motion. I don't want to give him energy to redirect his line. When we're doing knife tapping, we want to stop that knife. We're looking to stop the flow and the forward progression of the knife. So for training, when we're doing this in training, we're kind of being nice right here. It doesn't look like much. We're making contact in the middle of my form to the middle of Tom's form. But in reality, I am drilling this form. I'm attacking his form with my form. I'm going to crack that thing, and hopefully I can crack and actually break the form, you know, or hit it so hard that you can dislocate the shoulder. That is knife tapping, guys. That's the real knife tapping methods. It isn't this like, I'm going to scoop this up and then give him this line. I don't want him to have multiple attacks, right? So right there, we're going to stop that. So he has to actually withdraw his knife and get to his 2 line. So if I have the time for this, I'm going to catch that again right here with another tap. And again, this would be a strike, looking to break that radial bone or do some severe damage to that. I'm going to catch that elbow, and we're going to secure this thing right here. From here, we can go ahead and hook this and cut it. We're going to hook it down. I'm going to cut that thumb underneath. If for some reason he's still hanging onto the knife, now make sure that you're paying attention to his other hand, his headbutts, his kicks. All right, so you got to make sure you maintain awareness right here. All right, but we're going to go ahead and disarm this, and we can hit this thing all the way into the ribs, into the lungs, into the armpit area, into the liver, anything like that. It's better to be higher, because this is going to protect you better. If he does throw that rear hand hook, right, I am protected here. If I'm too low, I gotta bring this thing up. See how he's over that temple? So it is better to be higher, so that way you can protect your head right there if he does throw that other arm. If he ends up going low, let's go ahead and turn this around. If he can throw that punch after getting his lungs punctured out, and he goes low, right, we can still use the elbow destructions and all that. So obviously, I have to do this because I know I'm going to get some smart asses on YouTube going, he's going to punch you with the other hand. Guys, when you're training this stuff for as long as I have, we've worked all these different variables. I know he can punch me, he can kick me, he can do all these other things. All right, this is why you have to train, you have to be creative, and you have to start plugging in what are these other possible variables that can happen. All right, so let's go back to that bear technique, since we went ahead and covered some of that. So he comes in with the thrust. My first attempt to stop that, say it fails for whatever reason, he can come up with another thrust, and now I go into that number 2 and I'm securing it. You got to get this grip right here. This is a death grip right here. This is yours. You own this. And from here, we're going to hook it down, and notice how I'm creating some range against that punch right there. And I'm going to cut that thumb. And he's probably gonna let it go. If he does not let it go by that time, then we can go ahead and disarm it. We can disarm it with the blade. I like going into the form so we can immediately go right into the thrust as well. From here, we're gonna pop this elbow up and go right into the come along lock right here. You can get one more cut there on the wrist, and now you're in the lock. Now I can take him wherever I need him to go. Just make sure his elbow is inside. Don't give him any space to get his elbow out of there. But for the finisher for this one, we're gonna go ahead, come over the top. Obviously you can thrust him in the face, but we're gonna go ahead and just kind of secure this. Give him a good knee, cracking that sternum, and then you can throw him out of the way or anything. You know, you can get creative with other follow-ups. All right, let's go ahead and look at this one from a couple different angles. We'll go nice and slow. So we have 1, 2 right there. We're gonna bring this down, cut that thumb, disarm this thing, pop that elbow up, bring him into the come along. Right down on top, this would be smashing him right here. Give him a good knee, and then you can get rid of him or whatever you need to do. Take him to the ground, terminate him, all that good stuff. All right, let's take a look at it from another angle. We have 1, 2, bring it down, cut it, thrust it through, bring him into the come along lock, hook it, knee it, and get rid of him. So the second technique that we're going to be looking at is if I cannot utilize my right hand fast enough and I got to use the left hand. So from here he's going into that thrust. For some reason it's really fast. I got to use my left hand this time. I got to stop that flow and then grab it immediately to secure some at least partial control. Right away we're going to come through with this and we're going to go ahead and disarm it right there. Notice again that I'm in this high position protecting myself. I got to keep an eye on his other tools that he can fire, and then from there I'm going to flay this up and thrust that shoulder really quick. Now obviously you can thrust the head, right? There's a lot of different targets. You can thrust that left hand. You can play multiple thrusts there if you need to, but just for the basic of the drill, you explore the different options. I'm going to go ahead and just go right to the shoulder. From here then I'm going to smash my elbow right down the crook of his elbow. I'm going to keep this lock right here, this little gooseneck on his wrist, and we're going to go into the cradle lock. Let's go ahead and turn this around. So from here, I thrust his shoulder, I break right through the bend of his elbow, my hand comes back around, and obviously we can dig that knife right into his chest. Now to really cinch this lock in, my left hand's gonna let go. I'm gonna come a little bit closer to him, and this could be a punch or anything, but I'm gonna stretch out his neck, and this puts a lot of pressure on his shoulder. From here, you can slam him down to the ground, you can go into some of your low line kicking. Obviously be very careful if you take someone down with this, especially when you're training this, because you can blow someone's shoulder out very easily with this cradle lock. Let's go take a look at it from another side. So we have the same thing at the beginning. We got to stop this thing and grab it with the left hand now. Okay? As long as I keep this thing somewhat across, see how I'm still protecting my chin just in case he can do something. He might try to slip the elbow of his right or anything like that. And then we come through right away, smashing that thing out. I'm going to thrust that shoulder. You really want to stay tucked like this. Sometimes for the videos, I'm out like this, right? Because so that way you guys can hear me better. But in reality, you want to stay tucked because you got to protect all these lines in case that hand comes out or in case he tries to grab on and go into grappling or anything like that. You have to be aware of those things. So we thrust this here, break this thing through, go into that cradle lock, and then from there, you can make your decision. From here we have our 1, 2, catch it, smash it down right here, thrust the shoulder, come around, and there's the lock. Obviously this would be turned if you wanted to put that thrust right in. The third technique is if we can kind of catch the sight of that initial attack, and then we can go into an immediate neutralization of that weapon. So from here, where he comes in, and I can either get that cut right away, or I can get the thrust right there. And the other part of this third technique is I want to give you some other collie options. We're going to kind of look at moving into some of the Dumog options and some of the Sakaran or the kicking options as well that you could plug into these techniques, just to kind of give your creativity a little bit of a boost when you're training this stuff. So I pop that first thrust, or I can cut and thrust. Then we're going to go into a much more realistic disarm where I'm going to thrust this knife right through his hand. Now for training, we're just going to go through this little triangle right here, pop that knife out, you know, or you can simulate it, whichever way. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and rake his eyes, and then I'm going to slam this down, my forearm to his forearm. We're going to go into a Dumog arm drag. From here, I can scoop kick the groin and either oblique kick or scoop kick and side kick right to the knee, breaking his balance, breaking his structure, which allows me to turn the arm drag into a better, more practical throw. We can finish him down here, or we can get out of there and escape the situation. He comes in with that thrust, maybe I catch it, I cut it, I thrust it, I bring it up, and I thrust right through the hand. That's more of a realistic disarm, right through the hand, boom. And from here, I rake his eyes as I'm stepping in, protecting myself with the elbow, slamming into the arm drag position. I can give him a scoop kick, break that knee, or destroy that knee, you know, in some way, into the arm drag throw, and then wherever you're gonna go from there. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one, nice and slow, from a couple different angles. All right guys, hopefully you guys like those 3 techniques. Give those a go, and once you have those down, start exploring them and start putting your own variations to them. Modify the techniques however you see your creativity taking them. Change the techniques with some different ones. Maybe even if you train in a different collie style or system, or you train in a whole nother martial art altogether, then go ahead and apply the knowledge that you know and see how can you get this stuff to work. You can keep it all the same right here, and then you can go into your own technique investigations. So have fun with this one, train the different variables. When you're training techniques like this, you gotta be a little bit more careful because you are using a training partner. And when you're doing these techniques, especially like that last one, once we're here, we're in these positions, I'm not gonna be able to apply a lot of force on these kicks because obviously I'm going to the groin and I'm going right down to the knee. And we do want to make sure we have good targeting, right? We could kick up a little bit higher and put a little bit more force into it. Otherwise if you're training to the actual target, obviously you don't want to put a whole lot of force in there. So you have to be careful with a lot of these techniques because collie is really designed to destroy the enemy, your opponent. So all the techniques that we're doing always are going to some sort of area of the body and some sort of angle to destroy something on the body. So you have to be nice with this stuff. You have to be more responsible with this stuff when you're training this stuff. Now, anytime, I want to give you guys a little bit of a bonus tip. Anytime that his knife, if you disarm it or he drops it, whatever, you find this thing on the ground just like this, if you see that there's at any point in time that he may be able to pick up his knife, you always step on the handle of the knife. You never allow him access to the handle. So if he's got to pick it up, he's got to go through the blade. And if he knows that thing is sharp, then he's probably going to be like hesitant. He's probably going to try and grapple and get your foot off of that handle if he's really desperate to get that knife back. Obviously, while he's doing that, you still have your weapons. Now you can start working that stuff, or you can kick the knife away if you need to. But that's just a little bit of a bonus thing. If you see the knife on the ground, maybe you're taking him down and you see that you're taking him down a little bit close to the knife, you don't want him to grab that, just make sure you step on the handle. It doesn't matter what foot end is there, you'll see which one you have available. But just a little bit extra bonus tip right there for you. And then, your partner's training knife gets all dirty and everything when you're training outside like we do. I hope you guys really enjoyed this one. If you want to continue your knife training with us and take your knife training to a whole nother level, head on over to colliecenter.training and check out our full knife fighting course. We go over so much information over there. We go over all the different knife handling forms on the forward grip, on the reverse grip. We cover footwork, and then we cover a lot of the knife tapping stuff in far more detail, all the close quarter counters, and we get into the attacks and how to start really applying knife fighting strategies, tactics, and techniques. So check that out, our knife fighting course over at colliecenter.training. There's also a link in the description below. All right guys, I'll see you guys next time. Make sure to smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give us a like. We always appreciate it. And say hi to Tom in the comments below, and make sure to thank Tom for helping me out in this video today so we can present some more collie training and collie fun to you guys. All right, we're gonna get back to it. We'll see you next time.